Your attention, masters, mistresses. All systems functional for the Everything Geek podcast.
Hey, my name's Rich McDonald, and I played David Mason in Call of Duty Black Ops 2, and you're listening to Everything Geek podcast.
Hey everybody. You're listening to Everything Geek podcast. Thanks for listening.
Hey, it's Leif Gamfert. I played Uncle Ben's killer in The Amazing Spider-Man, and you're listening to the Everything Geek podcast.
Hello, I'm Simon Fisherbecker. You probably know me better as Dorian Moldovar from Doctor Who, or the Fat Friar from Harry Potter. And this is Everything Geek podcast.
Face it, Tiger. You just hit the jackpot with the Everything Geek podcast.
You're listening to the Everything Geek podcast, bringing you interviews from your favorite films and TV shows every week, and all of the latest news. Here's your host, Rory Williamson.
Hello everyone, you're listening to the Everything Geek podcast. I'm your host Rory, and joining me today is a very special guest. We have actor Patrick Gilmore. He currently stars as David Mailer in Travelers and Shaun in You Me Her, and is also best known for playing Dale Volker in SGU Stargate Universe, Tom Drexler in The Killing, Erlich Kelso in Arrow, Roger in The Confirmation, Werewolf Wrangler in The Cabin in the Woods, Ark Communications Officer in 2012, Rafferty in Battlestar Galactica, Ken Watson in Supernatural, Rex in Continuum, Researcher in Smallville, Bernie Ackerman in Stargate SG-1, and Genii Soldier 1 in Stargate Atlantis. How are you today, sir?
That was a lot. I'm good, Rory. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. It's a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Yeah, it's good to chat with you.
So getting right into my questions for you, Patrick, for any of our listeners that may not be familiar with your background, can you tell us how you got into acting?
Sure. I'm a Canadian, and I was born and raised in a town called Edmonton, Alberta, which I always like to say is like the Texas of Canada. But it's a very rich community in theater and in arts in general. I think it's because it's so cold there typically that people are always retreating inside to entertain themselves. But so I kind of grew up making movies with my dad's camcorder and then into the theater, and it just kind of ended up that I'm here with that ridiculous list of I didn't even know some of the names of my characters on that show. I guess it's online, but well done with the research. So yeah, I've never really had a plan B. I just I wanted to be an actor, and I've just managed to be lucky enough to do that for a job.
Yeah, definitely, and I will say it was quite a bit of research that went into the intro, so I'm glad you appreciated it.
Well, surely you haven't seen all of those shows. I don't even know if I've seen all of them.
No, I'm good, but not that good.
Yeah, my goodness.
Can you tell us how you were originally cast as Dale Volker in Stargate Universe?
Sure. Stargate Universe was just another audition. Of course, we'd all heard that Atlantis had been canceled and that they were also starting up a new show. And so there was, just a huge cattle call of actors coming in to read for a variety of scientists. There's no real specifics. In fact, I think there were two concrete characters. I think it was Brody and Franklin that I may have read for. And I think what they're doing is they just wanted to see what kind of actors they could bring in, and then decide how they were going to make these 5 or 6 scientists, or however many there were, balanced with different styles of characters. So in talking to Brad Wright, who was there for, I think, my second audition, and this would have been 2008 maybe, Brad and I have very similar senses of humor, and so I think he kind of picked up on that, and then it was just a matter of what the actors bring to the characters. And Stargate Universe was a show that had a very high death toll, they were always killing people off. So it was just it was a matter of enjoying the episode you were on, assuming that you were going to die the next episode, and yeah, it was. I had no idea I was going to last as long as I did, and I just kept taking it one day on set at a time. And again, I was very lucky.
Definitely. And when you were eventually cast as Dale, how much were you told about the character when you were originally cast?
Very little. We had the script to go on, and the stories were really centered on the 7 or 8 main characters. There's a lot of cast members in Stargate Universe, so you never really expected that you were going to make a big splash. So you just could kind of do the best with what you had. But everyone was so friendly that I ended up becoming good friends with the writers, and you spent a lot of time on set just chatting and getting different backstories. And any time they gave you a plot or a storyline, it was a little more of a glimpse into who this character was. And it was one of the first times I was able to sit with a character for so long and really start to see him as a separate person. Because typically when you're a guest star, you're in and out in 3 days, and you haven't really lived in this person's skin very long. So you just hope that you've done the homework and put in the work. But with Dale Volker, I got to hang out with this guy for 2 years. And eventually this character emerged, and it's a really different creative experience. And I'm fortunate that I get to kind of do the same thing with a completely different guy, David Mailer, on Travelers.
Definitely. You're one of the few actors also to have appeared in all of the Stargate shows. Do you think your work on SG-1 and Atlantis before Universe helped you land the role of Dale Volker?
Absolutely not. No. I died in both of them, and especially Stargate Atlantis. I think I was there for one scene, but there was, I think all told, 15 seasons of SG-1 and SGA, and there are actors in town that did multiple episodes, more episodes than I ever did, and they played different characters on each episode, whether it was a rubber mask or a different soldier of some sort. But no, I think it was just a neat piece of trivia. It was a complete fluke that I happened to be one of the first to be on all 3. I wear it like a badge of honor, as if I had something to do with it, but I don't think I did. But I like being part of the lore like that.
Yeah, it's definitely a nice bit of trivia to have, though, to be able to say you're one of the few cast members on all 3 of them, even if it was accidental.
Yeah. I wonder. I should ask Brad if he knew, but I highly doubt it. I mean, there were thousands of actors that came and went on Stargate, the Stargate series. So I don't think that that was any sort of decision on putting me on Universe.
Yeah. How did you find out that Stargate Universe would not be picked up for a 3rd season? Were you disappointed when you heard the news?
Oh, I was absolutely disappointed, especially because the show ended on such a cliffhanger, and we never got to resolve that. But I remember exactly where I was. I was in a hotel in Edmonton. I think it was a stopover, or I can't remember why I was there, but it was December. And I heard on Twitter, of all places, somebody posted it on Twitter, and I just remember sitting on the hotel bed, just staring at all this snow, going, "Oh, well, I had a good run, and what's next?" I mean, of course, I mourned it a little bit, but what I mourned was the people that I was going to work with, and I was able to ease that pain because I knew that I could see these people, and I've since become such close friends with so many of the people involved with Stargate Universe. But as an actor, when you're starting up, you're jumping from gig to gig, just trying to pay the bills, and you kind of get into that mentality of being in the trenches and scrambling to find how you're going to pay your next bill. So that came back very quickly. You know, I was blessed with 2 years of steady work, and then all of a sudden it was gone. So you go, okay, got to hit the pavement. I remember what this is like. And it's not fun, but you kind of have to take that with the job, with the luxury of doing what you've always wanted to do. But yeah, I found out on Twitter, and I was bummed for a minute, and then you just gotta move on.
Yeah, of course, that makes a lot of sense, and of course it has to be Twitter of all places, where, you know, there's always so many updates, like, as they happen. You just take a quick look, and already you know.
Yeah, you hear about people finding out stories breaking about themselves on social media, and this was 2010, I think it happened, and it was surreal, because there was just these 140 characters telling me that I was unemployed. You know, not only me, but hundreds of other people, and you know, no phone call, no golden handshake, just no longer will you be getting a paycheck or going to set and going to space. It was done. So as much as the fans were really upset, and you know, there's a lot of outspoken factions of the fandom. You know, some people were happy that it was gone. Some people were upset. What gets lost in the shuffle is that this wasn't just a casual TV show that we watched that we lost. This was our way of making a living. These were hundreds of people that just lost a job, and sometimes that gets forgotten, you know. And it was tough, but
yeah,
you know, we all kind of move on.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I
get long-winded. Interrupt all you want.
No. But what I was going to say was I completely agree with what you're saying. Like, I mean, I even know myself sometimes when I've seen favorite TV shows of mine get cancelled, like, my first thought is, oh no, we won't get to see them finish the stories they wanted to tell. But, like, really, the first thing we all should be thinking is, oh no, they won't be getting a paycheck, or they'll have to wait a bit for the next paycheck.
That might not be the first thing you think of, because the whole idea is we're creating entertainment, and so your entertainment comes first, absolutely. And I guess I'm a little biased because I'm coming from an actor's point of view, and so when I'm watching a TV show I love and a character gets killed off, I immediately think, oh, that poor guy, he's now unemployed. I go, oh, right, and I missed the character. But from people who are watching, you know, I mean, they don't know the industry, and so they should, you know, feel the loss of the character or the show first. I mean, that's what we're doing. It's show business. We're showing. We're entertaining. But yeah, my view of the art is a bit skewed, because I see so much of what goes into it, and and I wish I didn't. I wish I could get lost in the fantasy more than I do now. But you know, we see the strings now.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely tough from that side of things. Like, a lot of people are losing something that entertained them. Some people are losing a paycheck. Like, it's losses all around, really. Which would you say was your favorite episode of Stargate Universe that you worked on?
Oh, that's, you know, there was 40 episodes, and they were all so different for different reasons. And I the one that just pops into my mind, and I apologize, I can't remember the name of it. I feel like I want to say Epilogue, but it was a storyline where we get to see a version of our characters landing on a planet and living out the rest of their lives on it. And Volker dies. I think Volker died like 4 or 5 times on the show. But in this episode, it moves forward, and Volker dies of kidney failure. And you get to see people getting married and having children. And Elena and Louis, those are the actors' names. And for some reason, their character names are completely lost on me right now. But they have a child, and they grow old. They go the old people makeup, the aging makeup, and it was so wonderful to kind of see if the show had run for 60 years, this is what we would be, and it just felt real, and it felt really emotional, and it wasn't even a finale episode. I think it was like the fifth to last or something, but everyone kind of from the cast and crew talks about that episode because there was something very personal in seeing these characters live out their lives. So I think that was my favorite episode.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I died, so you didn't get to see me live a full life, but that seems to be my lot. In a lot of those character roles that you listed off the top of the show, I think I died in almost all of them.
Yeah. I mean, you're almost typecast as a dead man as much as Sean Bean is.
Oh my God, I am a red shirt if there ever was one.
No. I believe it was Hope, that was the episode title, and it was the 14th episode in the second season. So you're actually right, it wasn't the season finale episode, but
no.
Yeah.
I thought Hope was the one where I get I get my kidney replaced.
Oh, wasn't that the one you were referring to?
No, so this is where it gets convoluted, and I'm sorry for anyone who's listening who hasn't watched the show, but so Volker has a kidney disease, and in the Prime timeline, he gets his kidney replaced, and he lives. So that would have been Hope. But in a different timeline, they land on this planet, and he doesn't get his kidney replaced because they don't have the medical equipment of the spaceship of Destiny. So he has to just suffer through his kidney failure, and he actually dies. So I feel like Hope was when he has the kidney surgery and lives. A lot of kidney talk. I'd have to go back. It's been 6-7 years. Wow.
Yeah, it is scary to think how time flies.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to actually figure out online which the episode was. There's an image here that says Dale Volker falls ill from the episode Time, but I'm not sure if that's
That's another episode where I died. That's where they get caught in this I think it's like a Groundhog Day kind of episode, and there was I don't remember why I died on that episode, but I think I died a couple times in that episode.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. I think I died 5-6 times in Stargate Universe.
Yeah, it sure seems like it. Anyway, as soon as I'm embarrassing myself in front of everyone.
No, I'm embarrassed. I should know these answers.
What were you told about the character of David Mailer when you were originally cast in Travelers?
Well, Brad Wright, who was one of the creators of the Stargate TV series, he is the showrunner and creator of Travelers. And I had an audition for it, and then in the callback, Brad was there. And Brad saw me waiting in my car just before the audition, knocked on the window, and we had a little chat. And he said, just so you know, David Mailer was written with you in mind. So no pressure. And so the cadence and the timing of David is very similar to me. But what I've come to learn is that David Mailer is more Brad Wright than anything. It's Brad's voice. I think Brad sees his entry into that universe through David Mailer, and which helps because Brad's such a sweet guy and a very smart, empathetic man. So that kind of informs how David is played as well. But they've given me a lot of room to kind of explore him as well. But the world creating that the writers have brought us there's so much and so rich that I feel like Patrick is along for the ride. I'm very much as entertained and curious about the world as everyone else is.
Yeah, definitely, and that that for you must be like one of the biggest compliments, you can get as an actor when you're told that a character like David, it was made with you in mind. Of course, as you said, it's a bit of pressure. Go on.
Absolutely. I almost wish you hadn't told me before I had my second audition, but yeah, I remember in Stargate, around the 4th episode, Stargate Universe, when the writers got to know you and they started writing in your voice, it's a very different experience, and it's like I liken it to, when you've been wearing a pair of jeans for a couple weeks and you're putting them on, you probably shouldn't wash them, but they go on, they pull them up just like they're pajamas. You know how they get worn in like that? It's that same feeling when you slip on a character and you go, oh, this fits me nice and it's cozy and I love it. And that's what it's like when you get a script where the dialogue is so in your wheelhouse. You say, oh, this is going to be so fun because I immediately understand how he speaks, which takes away some of the work. So you get to spend that time exploring fun ways of doing it or exploring deeper parts of the character. It's really freeing, and I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, how honored was I?
Yeah, I have to say I laughed when you made the jeans analogy because we've all been there with jeans. We're like,
oh yeah, you should be washing them, and you hope no one knows that you've been wearing the same jeans for 2 weeks. But when you put them on, and it's just like velvet, it's lovely.
Definitely. Which has been your favourite scene to shoot on Travelers from the episodes that have aired so far?
That have aired so far?
Yeah.
Well, let's go with season 1. That is a good question. Because it's just, I think that leaving the David voicemails, which has kind of become a thing, David leaves these really awkward. He's so awkward on the phone. And every time we film it, I go, why is this guy so bad on the phone? I mean, he's a bit of a nervous guy in person, but on the phone, he just starts rambling. And any time that the writers bring me one of those are always fun because it's a monologue, but it's just a playground. I really love that. Of course, any scene with Mackenzie Porter is so fun. So fun because we have such contrasting energies that just make this couple so enjoyable to watch and root for. You're waiting for them to work it out. And I've had a few scenes with Eric, and Eric's he's a consummate professional. He's just one of the most generous people I've met, let alone actors. And I always look forward to scenes with him as well.
Yeah, that's great, definitely. What can fans of Travelers look forward to in the upcoming episodes of the show?
So season 2 is going to be released on Netflix December 26th. And I feel like the first season was really kind of an introduction to these people, like an arena for you to find your favorite, to root for your favorite, to fall in love with these people. And now that we know them, now that we root for them, now that we're comfortable with who they are, the stakes are just raised even higher in season 2 because this world building that the writers have created is starting to get really dark, and everything that they did in the first season has repercussions going forward. So it's just going to get more and more intense. And my brother, who is a very discerning critic, he had a hard time getting to the first season because he said it's just so intense. It's not something I want to watch before I go to bed. I'm left just so anxious, and I'm afraid that there's just more of that in season 2, more so now because we know these characters and we root for them. So yeah, make sure you have your Kleenex ready because there's going to be a lot of tears and nail biting.
Yeah, I feel like your brother should probably, watch it first thing in the morning rather than last thing before bed.
Yeah, but then that just sets the tone for having such an anxiety-ridden day.
Yeah.
But I know I didn't give you a much, to chew on with season 2, because this is a spoiler zone, and it's a minefield.
Yeah. Out of all of the productions you've worked on so far, which would you say has been the most challenging in your career?
I did a movie recently called No Men Beyond This Point, and it was a fake documentary, and it was meant to be like one of these. I don't know if this means anything to you, but like a PBS documentary, like one of these very dry shows that you're scrolling through TV and you stumble across, but the subject matter was extremely fascinating. It was about the extinction of men, and I played the youngest man in the world, because after I was born, men stopped being born, and it was challenging because I really took to heart this idea that we were making one of these very dry documentaries. So I was really trying to make the character as dry as possible, in that when you watch a real person being interviewed, they're not very entertaining because they're not storytellers. They're not professional performers. And so I had to do a lot of what are called talking heads, where I sit and talk to the camera and tell them about this character's life. And I found that very challenging, not to make it as engaging as a storyteller would, but as a real person. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but it was a really fun exploration about how to be as real and gritty and raw as possible, like a person talking on the street versus, an actor playing a role and being very dramatic with it. People, I find, aren't super entertaining. If you just walked in the street and threw a camera on somebody, more often than not, you're not going to be entertained. And I was trying to tap into that. And I think I was a little more successful than I hoped, because I didn't quite nail it, but that's the fun of acting. It's like a golf game. You're never going to have the perfect round, but you're going to, improve on some shots. I think that would have been my most challenging role.
Yeah, that definitely makes a lot of sense. My final question for you, Patrick, aside from Travelers and You, Me, Her, do you have any other upcoming acting roles or any other projects that you would like to talk about?
Well, right now we just wrapped up season 3 of You, Me, Her. Season 2 of Travelers is starting to air and will come out worldwide in December. And we're just waiting to hear if these shows will be picked up. So in the meantime, any sort of project is going to be just focused on me, like maybe going to the gym a bit, maybe napping a little bit, maybe doing some traveling. Eggnog just came out, so I'll be drinking lots of that. Those are the things I'm focused on right now.
You're focusing on what everyone should be focusing on.
Yeah, I guess so. And I think that after working this year, I feel like I deserve some time to sit back and really enjoy that pint of eggnog.
For sure. I believe you also recently acquired your pilot's license. Do you want to talk about that before we finish?
Well, I haven't acquired it yet. I still need to write the exam, so that kind of got put on the back burner when Travelers came up. So my dad's a pilot, and I grew up in small planes and flying everywhere, and so it seemed inevitable that I would get my pilot's license. And so there was I had some time a couple of years ago and just started taking the classes and started flying and soloing, and I was just about to finish the whole thing when Travelers came up. So that's one thing that I'll be doing over the winter too, is hitting those books. And it was navigation and meteorology that just flew right over my head. I mean, I can't tell you one cloud from the next. I shouldn't be telling you this because you'll never want to fly with me, but I will know what a cumulus cloud is. I promise you. One day.
Yeah, I won't know either, so no need to apologize. Although I probably should say that your publicist told me that you got your license, so that's why I brought it up.
Oh, I better clarify that. No, I don't have it yet. So
yeah, it's really.
I'm at that point where I can fly by myself, but I can't take a passenger with me.
No.
So that should say enough.
That's close enough.
Yeah.
So that's all of my questions for you today, Patrick. It's been a pleasure talking to you on the podcast.
Oh, it's a great chatting with you, Rory. Thanks so much.
You're very welcome, and hopefully we can talk to you again sometime.
I'd like that.
Well, I look forward to talking to you again soon, and thanks again for joining us. Take care. Bye.
Bye now.
Travelers will be released on Netflix on December 26th, and You, Me, Her will return to AT&T's Uverse, DirecTV, and DirecTV Now in early 2018. Make sure to check out our podcast links. Check out our website, website.everythinggeekpodcast.com/EGP. Check out our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/everythinggeekpodcast. Check out our YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/user/everythinggeekcast. Check us out on Twitter, twitter.com/everythinggeekp. Check us out on Instagram, instagram.com/official-everythinggeekpodcast. Check out our Mixcloud profile, www.mixcloud.com/everythinggeekpodcast. Email us at the following email, everythinggeekpodcast@gmail.com. Check out our companion podcast, Everything Geek Comiccast, www.facebook.com/everythinggeekcomiccast. Make sure to check out the hosts' YouTube channels. Mine is www.youtube.com/user/Separatist Check out Patrick Gilmore on Twitter, twitter.com/Patrick Gilmore, and check out channel 1138 where we broadcast live from, www.channel1138.com. Geeks out, everyone.
Oh man, what do you think? I mean, the fact of the thing is that I don't know. I think our fans out there probably heard these stories so many times now, but it was a very strange audition process.
But they've been very responsive from the early days of creating the character, letting me do stuff that kind of springs into my own mind that I share with them. One of the biggest things that stands out that I've shared with people before is Thunderbird's